We got a lot of great talent. We got a lot of great clients, and Nick and Nicole are, I'd say, my two favorites. You guys don't know this, but you were my first sale. Did you know that?
I knew
You
we were at
mentioned
the
it once.
beginning.
Yep, you were at the very, very beginning. I was I think my firstborn was 3 weeks old. Was in a parking lot of franchise training for my other business. And Avery was like, Skylar, I don't like doing the sales thing. Can you just talk to Nicole? And that was the beginning. So thanks. Thanks for your vote of confidence and thanks for everything along the way. I've grown a lot since then. Working with you guys has grown me a lot. And for everybody that's listening, Nick and Nicole are just financial superheroes. Not many people like to nerd out about financial independence like I do. And Nick goes to financial camps and he's doing the thing. They're living the dream and they have 45 doors and they're going to tell us how they did it today. So we'll just kind of jump into this. I got some questions for you guys. I'm excited to learn from you because I complicate things a lot. And from talking to you, Nicole, I feel like you guys simplify things a lot. Yeah, so make this a conversation. Please make this a conversation. So why'd you guys pick real estate investing? A lot of people do stocks. Nicole, you're in banking. Why did you guys pick real estate investing as the way you're going to retire and live the life you want to live?
Learning came from my job as a commercial lender. When I started at a small bank, the other lenders had commercial real estate or just, I guess, investment real estate. And even the loan assistant who was processing loan documentation had a sixplex. And over the years, as I was watching folks' financial statements as well as their quality of life, I realized that real estate was a key way to get there. But I do think it's important to have a variety. So we do have, the standard retirement accounts. We do have taxable investments in the
Okay.
stock market. So I think our portfolio is about two-thirds real estate, one-third stock investments.
Okay. So you were underwriting people and seeing like their personal financial statements.
Yeah, so I've seen, fully going through their cash flows, but what hit me was the wealth over time that these people would build, as well as their quality of life. Because I worked with a lot of business owners too who were operating their businesses, and they were always, busy and had employees and those types of stresses in their lives. So they might have had strong cash flow. But the people who focused on investing in real estate seemed super chill. They were going on vacation all the time, not a worry in the world, and then had these massive balance sheets. So, in my work, I only work with multi-millionaires. And so you just see how they make money. And real estate was the one common denominator for all of them.
Okay. And were most of them making money somewhere else and then putting into real estate, or were they making money in real estate as well?
Kind of two different categories of folks. There was second gen where their parents handed them a bunch of real estate. I always was envious of that. And envy's not good. But so there were those folks, but most of them were generating their primary income or had generated their primary income from some sort of business or job and then chose to invest it in real estate.
Okay. Do you guys see two-thirds real estate, or I'm sorry, yeah, two-thirds real estate, one-third stocks. Do you guys max out like a self-funded 401k for tax advantages, or how do you kind of think about asset allocation now?
Yeah, we max out everything we can.
Yeah.
So I'm employed, so I max out my 401k in Roth. And then Nick is self-employed, so he's got a SEP. And most years we max that out. Kind of depends on what we have going on. And then the health savings account is the only triple tax advantaged account out there. So we've been maxing that out and not spending that money for many years.
I've never heard that term. You said triple tax?
Triple tax advantage. It's the only type of account out there where you can never pay tax on it.
Because contributions are pre-tax, growth is tax-free, and then withdrawals are tax-free. Is that the third?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And I believe it's 65 after 65, you can actually use it for anything. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not licensed. So do your own research. But yeah, we actually keep a stack of receipts for the last 5, 6, 7 years, just in case we need to access some money. But our intention is to leave it there and basically kind of instead of long-term insurance. And I always joke that I'm going to finally get a BMW with that triple tax
to,
savings.
to drive you to the nursing home when you're old.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Nick, do you have anything to add? I know couples do things differently. Were you all on board with this? Do you like stocks too?
I mean, my preference is real estate. My dad was a real estate agent when I was younger, so we were kind of flipping houses before it was in vogue. And like I liked real estate because it was tangible, right? You could touch
Mhm.
it. Stock market, I don't fully understand it. I understand you need to invest in it, and so I was always leaning towards real estate, but stocks are the easier way to start when you're young and you don't have the capital to be able to do it. So that's what we were doing in the beginning.
When did you guys start investing?
So we wanted to, like, stock wise, we invested right out the gate. As soon as we graduated from college, we started maxing out whatever our employer contribution was. And early on, Nicole started working for the bank and we started learning about, real estate investing. And so early on, we wanted to invest in real estate. And we actually had a group of friends and we created this idea that we were going to buy an investment property, and it was called GSB. And what it meant was G string bandits, because we were a bunch of silly kids. And but it never came to fruition. We wrote on properties that never happened. And we ended up just by default buying a house, single family house. We lived in it. And after our son was born, Coltrane, we moved down from Alaska to Oregon, and the economy was crashing. It was 2009. And we did something that even our advisor at the time said it was kind of a dumb idea. We liquidated our 401ks. And we used that, took the hit. We should have done it in Alaska, because if we would have done it in Alaska, we would have had to pay Oregon taxes. So that was foolish of us. But then we finally were able to get our foothold into an investment, and we ended up buying a triplex. I wasn't licensed at the time. We didn't listen to our realtor. Again, that was smart in that situation. She wasn't very good. And we bought in an area that I thought was the path of progress. We got lucky, and it was. And we still own that particular property in Springfield, Oregon, and we owner occupied it. And that's kind of how we got it started. We occupied that unit and we saved up, and Coltrane was getting bigger and we wanted him to have a yard. So we kind of took advantage of whatever the market was offering, right? So originally we wanted like a certain type of property, but the triplex was the best one. So we bought it. And then we were like, oh, we'll buy another duplex or quad, but the market wasn't giving up better deals at that time, but single family was decent. So we ended up picking up a little house with a big yard that we knew wasn't our forever home, but it was going to be something that gave Coltrane, our kiddo, a backyard, which was lacking.
Mhm.
And so we bought that. We lived in for that for a minute, and then we bought another one. And that's how we slowly kind of started putting a couple properties under the belt.
Nicole, did you like this move-in acquisition plan, move in, move out plan? I've tried to do it with Avery, and I was able to get one property that I could buy, live in, and move out. And she's like, "We're done. We're not doing it anymore."
Well, I went from a 2,000 square foot beautiful home in Kenai with a baby room to living in a garage apartment without a couch and a newborn. So Nick is a pretty good salesman. So I have learned to just kind of roll with things. And I also learned that everything is a tool. Like your job is kind of like a tool, it's giving you the money to do something else with it. Your house is a tool. You have to have somewhere to live, you have to enjoy it. But I mean, even our house right now, we've got rentals that are much nicer than where we live. So
Yeah.
we're not, well, I'm going to get ahead of myself, so I'll stop. We took over 3 years, three retirement accounts. And again, it was a good move based on the market at the time, because this was in 2010. And so we cashed out, 2010 was the first one. We cashed out a retirement account, bought a house. The next year we cashed out a retirement account, bought a house. And the next year And so we did that 3 years in a row to kind of spread the tax penalty. But that's how, after that, we had money for the triplex. And after that, that's what we did. I'm not
Okay.
necessarily suggesting that in this market, that would be a good idea.
How intentional, you brought up the market, how intentional were you knowing where we were in the cycle, or you were like new in the investing space and you're like, yeah, it's a good time, but I don't know how great of a time it is. And maybe nobody knew how great of a time it was to buy back then.
We, later in the presentation, you might feel differently, but we do have a relatively high risk tolerance. And, being in banking and studying economics, I wasn't overly concerned
Okay.
about, we were kind of contrarians. So when everybody's freaking out, like I've been buying in the stock market recently with the war, throwing more and more money in there because I feel like it will come back. Again, those are my personal opinions. So 2010, 11, like we saw smoke and deals. And so that's why we were willing to risk it at that time.
Cool. Thanks. And yeah, for everybody, not financial advice. It's just real people. It's what we do.
Don't
And
cap out your retirement like we did.
yeah, I appreciate the candor. So did you guys have a goal when you started back then?
So I think our evolution was interesting. So we acquired a few properties, right? And once we locked those down, I think Nicole's job became high pace and she was, buckled down. My career started taking off and we had kind of a time period where we just didn't do anything. And we ended up, I'm not a big one on like certain type of conventions or webinars or whatever, but we signed up for a couples goal setting retreat. And I always tell people this was kind of like basically the catalyst. And it ended up being a really good one. We'd been married for a number of years and it was pretty in depth. You went into, your spiritual part of your relationship, your sexual part of your relationship, your health and investments. And it was 3 days and we're doing this at home in our living room and we got real vulnerable. Nicole told me things she had never told me, vice versa. It was pretty raw. And certain parts we were able to really hone in some of these big, hairy, audacious goals. That was the whole point of it. And at that point, we decided we were going to get to, that 50-ish door mark in the next X amount of years. And once we created that goal and those steps towards that goal, we just marched forward. And that was part of the reason we ended up buying in North Carolina for no reason. Like literally, I just was Googling. I thought it'd be neat to be a longboard surfer. And I was like, where's a good spot on the East Coast? And I found Wilmington. And that was literally, there was nothing more than that was put into that thought. Nicole's like, you're crazy. I was like, well, look at it. It looks like a cute town. So that's how we started doing it. We started investing outside of Oregon, even though we love Oregon and we've done really well professionally here. The state it's not the most business friendly state, lower landlord friendly state. So we wanted to start to diversify and invest in other states and kind of create kind of our own hedge fund of properties in different states throughout, that we're familiar with and some that we weren't. So yeah, that was the biggest catalyst, that couples goal setting retreat. And like I said, we grew a lot.
When did you do that?
And when was that, Nicole? Maybe 2019. I think it was probably 18. So we took a long period off. And I sold a lot of properties that I wish I would have bought myself, but I sold them to clients because I'm in real estate. And sometimes I'd find a great deal and I'd want to buy it, but I had 2-3 clients looking for investments and I figured I'll just get the commission and, hook them up. And so, yeah.
So am I, because I know a little bit, it sounds like you had maybe like 6 properties in 2018, 6 units ish. If you had a couple, like a triplex and a duplex and a single family home or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then from 2018 to 2026, you grew to 50, you said, and then you sold off a couple.
It was more like, I think our last purchase was 22.
Okay.
It was like, yeah, we did it in like 3-4 years. I think the goal is 5 years and we hit it in 3 or 3.5.
So your goal was 50 properties in 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We got lucky for a couple of different reasons. One, real estate got really hot. And, I normally do 40 to 50 transactions a year as a solo agent. And during the COVID years, I did over 80 per year. And so I had, we had a lot of, income coming in. And throughout this whole time, we've always lived solely on Nicole's income, and all my income has been how we invested. So we started off from a place that we live way below our means. I always joke most people wouldn't live in our house, even though I'm a real estate agent. And I grew up pretty poor. One of my pet peeves when people say they deserve this, I'm always like, you don't deserve anything. The fact
Mhm.
that you've got a roof over your head, you should be pretty thankful. And so we don't ever try to keep up with the Joneses in any aspect of life. And probably because I grew up poor, I always wanted some type of security. And so by being a saver and an investor, it kind of provides that security. And both our fathers, when they hit about 50, they decided to make a major career change and failed and basically ruined their financial
Oh,
situation.
wow.
And so we didn't want to repeat what we had seen our parents do. So
Yeah. How much would you attribute income to growing your portfolio? And did you have to get creative for financing it all, right? That's
Well,
kind of like,
we did three things, Skylar. First, we had two little houses in Oregon that were the ones we acquired in 2010, 2011. And those had appreciated pretty substantially. And we had over the years remodeled both of them, like full remodel. And so one of those we paid 87,000 for, and the other one we paid 110 for. And over that period of time, we had paid those houses off, and they were generating about $1,200 in rental income. And so both of those properties we actually sold to the tenants that were in them, and we sold them below market, but we sold them each for 300,000. So we 1031 into one of them. We did a sixplex in Alaska, and then another one that one we did a sixplex in Alaska and a duplex in Kansas City. And then the other one we actually bought the most expensive fourplex to ever sell in Eagle River, Alaska. So that's what we did there. And then as far as creative financing, our primary residence, interest rates were super low at that time. So we had paid 175 for our primary residence, and it was worth close to, I don't know, 400 or 350 at the time. So we did a cash out refinance of that. It increased our payment by about $400, and we got $200,000 cash out of it. And so we took that money and bought an eightplex in Anchorage. So we bought a lot of properties with Nick's income, but and the money that we had saved over the years, but we also got creative with our 1031 funds, and we started moving out of the Oregon market because the returns weren't as strong, and the tenant friendly nature wasn't where we
yeah.
wanted it to be.
Okay. I'm excited to ask you a debt risk question, but I'm going to wait. Are you where you want to be? Are you just paying off debt now? You said you hadn't bought anything since 2022, or you going to come out of retirement, Nick, and buy a bunch of stuff soon?
We
um,
we've the last couple of years we've participated. We're in three syndications, and it's just because they're easy and they do the accelerated depreciation. So we just did one in December where we put 100,000 in, and because of the accelerated depreciation, we ended up getting a $60,000 loss, and the the syndication had owned that property. I think we bought it literally the week between Christmas and New Year's. So it had gone into service. As long as it went into service, we
Right.
were able to take that loss on 2025's taxes.
And then Nick, you qualify for reps, right? Real estate professional status.
yep, yep.
Yeah, man, I tell all couples, if one of you can be a real estate professional, it is such a game changer when it comes to creating wealth, because that bonus depreciation offsetting the other's income is such a huge thing. Such a huge thing. So how does I kind of thought you were going to be risk adverse, Nicole, actually, based on some comments that you'd made. But it sounds like you have a pretty high risk tolerance too. How do you guys think about that? Nicole, how do you think about that coming from commercial banking?
I worked through the Great Recession, so that's where my conservatism comes in. And I underwrite our portfolio as I would underwrite clients. Like I just wrote down some numbers of what I manage our portfolio to and then what it actually is. So to be a client of mine, you need a loan to value of 75% or less. You need a debt service coverage of 1.25. You need cash available outside of the project that equates to 10% of your debt, total debt, and a
Uh,
debt yield,
debt service, like payments, or like just total debt. If you got a
total
million
debt.
dollars outstanding, you need $100,000 cash.
Yep, yep. Because cash makes up for a lot of mistakes. And we view our real estate as an obligation to the families that live in our properties. And early in my career, I had a guy come to me who wanted to borrow money to replace the boiler in his fourplex. And he had no cash and he had put nothing down on the fourplex. And I had to decline that loan. And so this guy had three other families plus his, and no way to heat the property in the middle of the winter. So that's kind of a rule of thumb that we use for our large investors here at the bank is having that level of liquidity. And in one of your slides, you say something about sleepless nights. I've never had a sleepless night over our real estate portfolio
Yeah, that's
because
great.
we've managed conservatively. And the last one is a debt yield of 10% or greater. So I pulled up our portfolio last night. So our loan to value on our portfolio is 44%. Our debt cover ratio, we've been over 3 for the last 5 years. Our cash as a percentage of debt, this is non-retirement money you can access, is 25% of our debt. And our debt yield is failing miserably at 8%.
And I'm familiar with all of those except the debt yield. What's the debt yield ratio?
So basically, you take your net operating income and you divide it by how much debt it can support. So in
Uh,
times,
okay, so keep going. Sorry.
so you take your payment, your net operating income versus your payment, how much debt load that property can afford. It really comes into play in high cap rate, low interest rate environments. It's another way to protect from over levering your properties.
Okay,
So
I'll
right
have
now,
to.
it's not a big issue.
What's the difference? Why would you use that versus DSCR? Because that kind of is measuring the same thing from a different angle, isn't it?
It is, it does protect from over levering in, like I said, the low interest rate and when your cap rates are really low because it removes some of the risk of repricing on your interest rate. So what we are experiencing right now, you guys have heard like commercial loans are coming to maturity and they've got too much debt on it. Now it doesn't support the current interest rates.
Uh-huh.
Debt yield kind of lowers the actual loan amount that we lend on. So in like 21, 22, debt yield was our major constricting factor in commercial lending. Now it's debt cover ratio.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I track loan to value for myself, and from the metrics you do, that's it. So I'm gonna go look at that stuff. Do you think because you've and over 3 for a DSCR, that's like fantastic. That's super fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's our global, our
yeah.
global, which includes our personal income.
Oh, okay. Not just your
Yep,
portfolio.
correct. Yeah, our
Okay.
portfolio performs, but it does not perform. Yeah, it does not perform as well as it could, and that's a symptom of us being busy and not managing it well.
Yeah, okay. So, okay. But still, I mean, good numbers. Still really good numbers. Move on because I got a lot of questions here I want to ask you guys. You kind of answered this. How much debt is too much debt? You know, for you, it sounds like 44%. Do you guys like that loan to value, or is that just where you are right now and you'd like to go to 75%? How do you kind of have you thought of that as you've grown? Was there a stage where you're like, I need more debt now because we're trying to get to 50 properties, so I'm okay with 75% LTV, or have you always tried bend it to like 50% level?
You want me to go, Nick?
Yeah,
All right.
because my
Um,
answer is always just to be more risky. And Nicole's always like, no, we got to stay in the ratios. So she sounds like she's risky, but she holds me back a lot. So
I do hold them back a lot. Our loan to value right now is a symptom of the appreciation in the market since the time we acquired the properties. We've always put 25% down or slightly more when we've purchased properties, but I don't know that there's one that we put more than 30, maybe 35% down on. I don't really have a concern about the dollar amount of debt as long as the ratios are in line. And we just haven't purchased anything lately because we've been busy and the market dynamics, um, you know, we haven't put much effort into it.
Yeah, you got to put a lot of effort into finding things right now. That's off. Yeah.
well,
Um,
and the other thing is what we had done some we did a partnership with a friend of ours, and those properties are dogs. Like we will lose money on these properties, and so we kind of decided we're offloading those, taking the hit, and we really don't want to buy anything psychologically until that's completed. So I think we're open and wanting to buy, but we just want to get those off the books. It's been the property management. I mean, they are awful. The town is awful. The tenants are awful. I mean, it's Flint, Michigan. So don't always like we we thought, oh, we'll try in Flint, Michigan. We'll help improve the community. No, it's a terrible, terrible place to invest, in my opinion. And I think they saw us as a mark coming in, and everybody took advantage of us. And they're doing so on the exit as well. So
Our
once we
our
get,
buddy had properties there already and told us it was a great investment.
yeah,
And with partners, you often have different values. And one of our values is we're not going to own something that we wouldn't be willing to live in. And that I found out through that process that we had very different values because even though Nick and I don't have high standards for where we live, we would not live in any of those properties.
yeah, that value thing, like you don't, you even think you might have some similar values when you start out. And there's like so many layers to values that just get uncovered that you don't know about. And then you're like, man, that resonates with me a lot. That
good
resonates with me.
people still are friends, but we'll just never invest with them ever again. So.
Yeah. So how do you guys plan, right? So you talked about business partners outside of the relationship, but you guys are business partners. How do you divide up roles and responsibilities? Nick, do you look for properties? Nicole, you underwrite them? Do y'all kind of do your own thing and then just talk about it? Have you been intentional about it, or you've just been shooting from the hip and it's been working from you?
So the goal setting thing was really good because with the goal setting thing, we implemented monthly, reviews, which that we've kind of fallen off of that after, the last year or so because it's just not as important. But as we started doing the real estate investing, essentially, since this is what I do all day, I'd be the one that was kind of researching the markets, finding the realtor, finding the property manager, starting to look at properties. And then Nicole, since she doesn't give me access to any of our accounts, like I don't even know how much money we have. Like, and I don't even know which banks. Like, so like I'd be like, hey, do we have money to buy this? And sometimes she'd just lie to me and say no. And so she was like, the bank, denying me 90% of the time. And then eventually she would say yes every now and then. So and so Nicole's wheelhouse obviously is the numbers. So she's excellent at understanding the numbers, and going through that process. And then I was more the boots on the ground, dealing with the agents and the property managers. And here's a plug for Skylar. I remember when we started working for Skylar, I don't think he felt like a Marine for the first like 6 months. I don't think he smiled. Like, I think finally on one of the calls, I was like, Skyler, it's okay. Like, I'm not a very serious person. And, he's been such an amazing person to work with. And early on, I told him, I said, I trust you. I said, I said, just, you got the checkbook, man. If it needs to be done, just do it. He's incredibly honest and has a ton of integrity. And we could put you in all our markets, we would. So
Thanks for saying that. I appreciate it.
I
Maybe I'll
agree. You've never embezzled from us, so that's good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've been embezzled from too. That was Kansas City.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one day in a couple of years, I'll start buying property management companies everywhere you guys invest.
Perfect.
What do y'all do when you disagree? So Avery, she's my business partner in Cedar Ridge, and we've definitely come at it before. It's tough. I love how you guys talked about financing, man. Finances are so personal, and like if you can't, like they are so personal. If you're really, really talking about it, and it's intimate, so talking about it with your spouse is real. And if you can't open up, you can't get anywhere. But then sometimes when you open up, you can also hurt each other. And then everything feels raw. How do you guys handle disagreements? Sounds like y'all got a great relationship. So I'm not trying to divide anything here. I'm just curious.
I do think we're pretty lucky in that. In when we got together, I think Nick had like $1,800 and I had negative $500. So we didn't have anything to lose at that point. He bought me my first vehicle because I couldn't support myself, those types of things. So we're in a different position than a lot of people who maybe come together and have already established their habits and things like that. But
When did you guys get married? How old were you?
we got together when we were 19. We got married when we were 24.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that the most important thing is we respect each other's strengths. So if Nick tells me it's a good market to buy in, I don't really question that because I know that's what he does for a job. On the other hand, if Nick tells me we should invest in a business or a partnership, the answer is not no, it's hell no, because we've done that 4 times and only one time have we gotten our money back. A couple of years ago, he convinced me to invest in an AI company and we lost that. So after 4 strikes, he's out. It's not happening again. But ultimately, I think he respects the fact that I am more conservative and he knows we're both well intentioned in this. And so he knows that I'm not trying to, cramp his lifestyle or make it so, he can't ever stop working, whatever. And I think that's what helps us get through it is we just respect each other's strengths.
Yeah.
With regards to the losses. So there is a philosophy that you need to have 5 to 10% of your dollars in very high risk things. And so Nicole does like acknowledge that. So those were the high risk things. And the theory is that keeps you like active and wanting to invest. Unfortunately, they didn't pan out. They all sounded good. And I am a pretty trustworthy person. So,
He picked
they were
the
good.
property manager that embezzled from us, just for the record. And I told him we should leave him. And Nick said,
He was going
no.
through a divorce. I felt bad for him. I was like, let's give the guy a break. I help a lot of divorcees, so I am a sucker for giving people a second chance. So
What would you guys tell people that can't get on the same page? Like maybe the husband wants to invest and the wife doesn't, or the wife wants to invest and the husband's like, no, we work too hard for money. We can't do that.
Yeah, it's really hard. I think researching the statistics, it's just the same as if you research the stock market. I mean, in theory, the stock market is always going to go up. I mean, at some point that might not happen, but if you look back at the last, 100 years, it does. If you look back at real estate always goes up. Is there risk in it? Yeah, there's risk in everything, but your opportunity cost is higher in my opinion. If you are extremely risk averse and you don't want to invest in real estate, then maybe the syndication options are better because you're not taking on that personal liability, you're only risking your principal that you put in there. We're not afraid of the risk in those deals, but the ease of doing them is what's made us go that way the last couple times. So
Good.
I think, it's kind of like they say knowledge is power. So when you learn about this, it's not as scary as it it could be. The unknown is very, very scary.
Yeah,
I
Warren
would say,
Buffett doesn't Warren. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to add. So I think that probably goes back to that goal setting retreat. I think if you had your spouse that's just adverse to it, not wanting to do it, they're not interested. There's probably something they're interested in that you're not interested in, and so maybe compromising, saying, "Hey, we can sit down once a month to go over whatever that person's passion is. Maybe it's creating more family time, maybe it's whatever it is, but say, then I need you to sit down with me once a month to go over this, because I just want you to understand where we're going and why we're doing these things." I think it's always a give and take in a relationship, so figure out what that other person really needs you to buy into that you're not, because realistically you're
Mhm.
not wanting to buy into that, and show that side to it. I bet that the spouse would be like, okay, if you're gonna sit down with me and go over planning a vacation or whatever, then I'll sit down with you and go over the financial stuff. So
And that was like Dr. Phil, Nick.
yeah.
That was
I'm in real
good.
estate. I'm basically a counselor. So
Oh man, living life together and planning. It sounds like it's cool when people do it well, and I appreciate you guys sharing your journey with us. So kind of moving on, what's a week look like? A couple weeks ago, I think off the cuff, you're just like, yeah, I'm just spending all my time fly fishing now. What do you have are you in this like mini vacation phase and you're gonna ramp up when Coltrane graduates high school again? Are you just kind of like, man, I grinded for a while and I need to chill out, or intentional break? You're done forever?
um, for me, I'll keep selling real estate till we're officially ready to quit working. So I'm still actively selling. Nicole's still, actively doing her job. I'm just not in a position where I really want to grow my business. I've turned off some paid leads, for a variety of different reasons. It's more fun to work with referral clients than someone I got to convince to trust me. And I think Nicole's in a spot where she's hoping, probably next year or so to exit her industry and probably start something new on a part-time level. And so I think we're going to, slowly stage out of working. And we for sure want to spend as much time as we can with Coltrane, because he's an amazing kid and his buddy's awesome. And we love being with them. And we know that there's so much potential in those young men that they're going to take off real fast out of after high school. So I think we've done a good enough job that they're going to just tackle life and leave us in the dust. They won't want to hang out with us. So trying to get Nicole into fly fishing. I bought her a fly rod. So, next is waders.
Yeah.
I think he scheduled lessons too.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going
Nice.
to get a couples lessons. See, get out there.
You want a marriage counseling session, do couples kayaking and get in the same kayak. Have y'all ever done that?
Yeah.
We did dance
Oh,
lessons one time and we almost got a divorce. It was pretty rough. She didn't take it serious enough. Like, I'm competitive. I want to be the best dance group there. And so she was like laughing. I was like, this is not a laughing situation. We need to be the best in this group.
what kind of dance was it?
Ballroom. So
Ballroom? Nice.
ballroom dancing. Yeah.
Yeah, Avery and I went we did some kayaking, and I'm big, so I'm in the back, and I'm the guy in the back leads,
Hmm.
and Avery was not about it. She's like, we need to go this way. I'm just like, it was fun. It was
Yeah.
not fun in the moment, but it was fun looking back on it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so KPIs, we talked a little bit about them. Do you guys have anything else that you track, or is that just that global thing you talked about, Nicole? Is that all you look at?
We're not very good at this, and it's mainly because we're busy with our day jobs. And so this is also another reason why we have to be a little bit more conservative, is because we are not maxing out our portfolio. And that's something I'd like to do in the future when we have more time. But uh,
Okay.
yeah, we're I don't track vacancies. I couldn't tell you how many vacancies we have today. Well, I know we have two in one building because we're remodeling those, but otherwise, I don't, I have no idea, which is a really horrible way to track your portfolio.
Yeah, well, I served with a guy that started a company that is incorporating, he built some AI platform for KPI tracking for real estate investing. I'm gonna meet with him next week, and if the dollars make sense, I'll introduce you because he's gonna be bringing in all the property management, owner statement stuff, finance things to give every investor that kind of KPI dashboard for them for vacancy rate and things like that. Shameless plug, real quick. The industry average right now in the property management space for occupancy is 88%. And at Cedar Ridge, we're sitting at 94.5% right now. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys
Um,
have always been really proactive.
Thanks. I do a lot of KPI tracking, as you can probably imagine, for lots of things, probably to my detriment and my team's detriment sometimes. How do you underwrite stuff, Nicole? So Nick's like, hey, I like this town. I like Wilmington. I think we should get this property. What are you looking at when you guys underwrite that specific deal?
I mean, on the smaller, like single family properties, just ask the property manager what it's going to get in rent and then kind of hope for the best. There's no financials or anything that you can go off of. But on the larger properties, I pull up the last few years of financials, look at trends, and basically check the debt cover ratio, the debt yield, and obviously make sure we have enough money for the down payment. We have been pretty lucky in the lending that we've found. We only have one of our commercial loans that has a rate adjust, but it's capped at 2%. So we don't have a lot of concern over the future that way.
Okay. Man, so much there. So one, I heard you say for the individual deal, basically you just make sure the debt coverage service ratio is there and and it
Yeah, I mean, when you're buying a single family home, and this happened big time in Kansas City, we have a really nice duplex there. Um, and that property does not cash flow well at all because it was a duplex. Um, the owners didn't really have good history. Um, when we got some financials on it, it was missing some of I don't know if it was utilities or trash or what it was, but the operating expenses of that property were a lot higher than what we thought they were when we bought it. And you're just never, unless you really know the market and what utilities cost and those types of things, it's really hard to drill down on a single family um, property or something that's not professionally managed.
yeah.
So this is probably where I have a higher risk tolerance and just know that we have pretty decent jobs, so we can float the boat, and the rest of our portfolio does well. So I don't really worry. I've kind of wanted to sell Kansas City over the last few years, and especially after the embezzlement happened, and that only happened because I took my eye off the ball. I mean, we didn't get paid rents or any owner distributions for 4 months, and I had no clue because I was busy in my job, not paying attention. And so we just don't manage our portfolio to the potential that it could, I guess is what I'm saying.
Have y'all ever thought about getting some kind of like comptroller or assistants to make this their full-time thing?
I don't think we make enough money for that. We do have an assistant that helps us with some of the bookkeeping and those types of things. I've been through 3 bookkeepers over the years, and maybe I just have high standards, but I struggle with that. Finding someone that can that I trust to get into all of our statements and everything like that is challenging. So
Yeah. Do you like
that would be
your
helpful.
current bookkeeper? Are you finally happy or are you like just tolerating it?
Tolerating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that will be one of the things if Nicole, does, step down to like a part-time position, she's going to probably be happy because she'll be able to mess around in the files more, hone it in and hopefully increase the portfolio's potential. So
Yeah. Well, if you ever want an introduction, I like my bookkeeper a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can connect you guys. So we're running out of time a little bit. Um, I'm I want to jump to this. If we, if you talked to yourself back in 2018, maybe 2009, when you bought your first property, what would you tell yourself? Like, what would Nicole today tell Nick and Nicole back then?
I would tell me to do what I tell all my clients to do, which we didn't, and just gradually buy. We did a kind of a sprint, because we got motivated. If we would have just been consistently buying one every year or every other year, we would have grown, I think, equal portfolio, if not a bigger portfolio. But we did get bogged down in our careers. So I think just, looking at it, the slow game, you win. And I think when we went fast, that's when we made a couple of mistakes, right? Flint, terrible. Should have never bought. Realistically, Kansas City shouldn't have bought. But at the time, we were moving fast. We're pretending like we were a tech company, move fast, break things. And we broke some things, but, we also had some success in areas. So, yeah, slow and steady.
Yeah, man, if that's not great advice, and not the like bigger pockets selling you something, you can
Yeah.
go big or go home. What about you, Nicole?
Um, so Nick grew up relatively poor, and I grew up the opposite. And so it was challenging to learn to live drastically below our means. Um, and that is the one thing that I think has helped us really excel is um, we just we've, like Nick said, pretty much always lived off of just my salary. And it's hard. I mean, I drive past the car dealership every day on my way home from work. And I know that I can walk in there with cash and buy whatever I want. But I don't. Uh, I actually just got my first brand new car a couple of years ago, and it's a Honda Accord hybrid. So, and it is awesome. But I have many of my team members have, much fancier vehicles than
Mhm.
what we have. So living below your means gives you the freedom to do a lot of things and invest and grow your wealth so that you do have more freedom.
And
Yeah.
I
What do you,
think, and as a parent, the cool thing is, Coltrane, I mean, he understands that we have a decent portfolio and all these investments, but he's not a pretentious kid. Like he shops at Goodwill. He drives a beaten up pickup that he paid for himself. So I think he's going to have a good foundation and not be, trying to overextend himself just because, he thinks we're just normal folk, which we are just normal folk. We just happen to have a decent portfolio. So
yeah. Have you guys read The Millionaire Next Door? Is that,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we had him read it.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, man, Avery and I listened to that book on our honeymoon.
That's
Uh,
sexy.
right? Um, Man, so if anyone has questions, like to open it up, if you can message them in, and if that doesn't work, I'm sorry, and I will figure out how to do this better next time. Zoom webinar, I practiced a lot, and it's different to the normal Zoom.
One other thing I'll say that I've told a lot of clients over the years is your first investment is by far your most difficult investment because I think you have to learn to live within a certain means to be able to learn how to save. And once you kind of create that habit, all the properties going forward are so much easier. And so I always tell people if they really want to do it, just know that once you get that first one under your belt, every property past that is going to become so much easier to acquire. and you just because you build the healthy habits.
Yeah. And then Warren Buffett's quote, the best day to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The second best day is
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Um, and it sounds like your guys' first properties became the seed, you know, some of the seed money and the launching pad
yeah.
over time to what you have now. So so huge. Why do you think it's so hard for people to jump off and do their first one?
I think it's intimidating. You know,
Yeah.
you're making a big commitment, and I think I think it's the learning how to save. Honestly, I think that's the it's hard for people to learn how to save because you make a certain amount, you get a pay raise, and a lot of people just want to spend that extra amount. And learning how to like say, you know what, my lifestyle right now is really good. I've got a good family, I've got everything I need, and learning to stay at that place and appreciate what it is. I think I don't know. That's a habit we've learned. You know, because we don't go without. We have everything we need is great within our home, and you know, our kid has food always, and all his buddies can come over and hang out. We don't live in a fancy house, so they can trash it. You know, so our furniture, all our furniture is bought off Facebook Marketplace. Like literally, we don't buy new furniture. Our couches were given to us, so like, yeah,
all of our furniture was given to us from my wife's parents when they moved. We just um and then I made my kids' bunk bed out of 2x4s from Lowe's.
yeah. You know, it's
Um,
money hacking. I remember I used to listen to Clark. Was it Clark Howard? Remember he was a radio guy that talked about money, and he had this saying that like you never deserve a vacation unless at the end of the year you know put X amount in your savings and X amount in your retirement, and you haven't you know gotten in any debt. And if at that point you have a leftover amount of money to go on a vacation, that's when you deserve a vacation. I remember hearing that going, that makes sense. Like,
mhm.
you know, a vacation's a privilege, not a right, you know?
Yeah. So do you think your humble beginnings, and that need for security are why you have so much the ability to have so much delayed gratification right now? And like my important thing is financial freedom when my kids go to college. You know, my dad was just to share, he was at every single sporting event for me in middle school and high school. But he was a self-employed cabinet maker and got cancer when I was 13 and never worked again. And we struggled to make ends meet, but he was there all the time. And one of my big things is I want to be there all the time for my kids and be financially savvy to emotionally be available too, because I'm not worried about where is food coming from. Uh, yeah. So do you think your humble beginnings is why you have so much delayed gratification right now and are like, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, I think so. My dad, you know, he just made me. He always made me save up for anything I wanted to buy, and so as a little kid, I was, you know, an entrepreneur. I didn't realize it. Like I, had, you know, did baseball cards. You know, I started my own business, and so and then I think with real estate, Nicole and I, it sounds really cheesy, but it's almost like our hobby. Like it's, you know, the buying the rentals and stuff. It's fun. We have a fun time doing it.
Hmm.
You know, because it's kind of like you get a win. You lock down a property, or even if you're remodeling a property, you're kind of stoked because you know you're making the property that you own better. You know, you're most likely going to raise rents, and so it's like playing real world Monopoly. And it never stresses us out. Like I said, like Nicole said, because we're living at a certain spot where her income covers it, and we just know that that's you know building itself, and one day we're going to be able to take advantage of it. So yeah, it's been a hobby, really, is what it's been.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Um, Nicole, you got anything? You guys got anything else you want to share?
I mean, I think that's about it. Real estate is an amazing way to build your wealth. Had we spent more time on it, um, we'd be more successful with our real estate. Um, but yeah, I just think it's number one wealth building tool. It's also helped us help our family too, um, because you always need a place to live, and so does your family.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Just two quick things, guys, for everybody. And if you're watching this, if you want to work with somebody that loves real estate as a hobby, as a passion, with managers that love investing in real estate, scan the QR code on the left will help you out. And then if you're a client and you want to give back to your tenants, scan the QR code on the right. Avery and I started a nonprofit called Cedar Gives that is merit-based short-term grants for residents that come into a hard way. They get cancer, they lose their job, something happens and they can't pay rent. We donate a portion of every signed lease to them or to Cedar Gives, and then we pay rent on their behalf when they come in need. So we love this. Nick, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.